till plains, waterways, and gravel pits. I'm Rick Sowash, and it's time to use our resources on Ohio Rocks. Who were the first humans to live in Ohio? And don't tell me it was your great-grandpa. Ever since humans started wandering the earth, they've been looking for places where they could find fertile soil, water, and food. Would that be for here or to go? When and if they could find these resources, and a few others, hey, they settled.
Geology in the state of Ohio has a lot to do with where people live and where they do not live. The southeastern two-thirds of Ohio is very hilly, and those are areas where glaciers never reached. The northern and western two-thirds of Ohio is relatively flat, and believe it or not, about 95% of Ohio's population lives on glaciated sediment, and only the remaining 5% or so live in unglaciated Ohio. So where the glaciers were and where they were not 15,000 years ago has a lot to do with where people live in the state of Ohio.
Geology had a lot to do with the migration of people into Ohio and the Ohio Valley. When they came here about 12 or 13,000 years ago, the glaciers had just receded, and they really had to wait for that to happen. It wasn't a very hospitable environment until those glaciers had left. Human beings were able to enter either through the northern part of Ohio or up the Ohio River Valley. Earthworks have a lot to do with Ohio geology. There are two major types of earthworks. The first is the ones that exist on these hilltops, where they have enclosed ridgetops usually above streams. Fort Ancient in Warren County, Ohio is a prime example of that. Serpent Mound is a hilltop site. It's on this Dolomite Ridge in Adams County that sticks out over the Brush Creek Valley. But there's another oddity to it as well. It sits near the center of a crypto explosion, which was caused probably by a comet or a meteorite, and has sort of defined this enormous bowl in the landscape. So Serpent Mound sits right on the edge of that. The other major type is these lowland ones, the ones that are in the valleys. These are the geometric earthworks, these enormous things with circles and squares and octagons. And these were placed in these outwash terraces that were left by the glaciers. And really they had to put them there because that's the only place where they had sizable flat land to put these enormous structures. SEIP Mound is an enormous mound. It is another one of these outwash valleys. Paint Creek Valley near Chillicothe is another glacial outwash valley where all this stuff that was being flown out of the glaciers widened this stream, made these big flat terraces, and that's where the SEIP earthworks and the SEIP Mound exist today.
These first humans in Ohio, what good did they get out of the resources they found here? Did they leave anything behind to show us that they really did live here? Ever since the first Native Americans moved into the Ohio area, humans have gotten a lot of good out of the resources hidden in this state's geology.
Native Americans utilized Ohio geology in really a couple of different ways. One is they used the rocks that were here. Some of these rocks are bedded like chert that you can see in exposures, or they mined them. Some of the rocks were brought down by the Canadian Shield. Things like granite, igneous metamorphic rock, very heavy, dense rock that can be shaped into tools for battering and chopping. But also geology shaped the landscape. It created the river valleys that we have and the very flat till plains in the unglaciated plateau that you see in the eastern part of Ohio. So it was important to them. They chose areas where it was easy to live, where they could grow crops, where they could do all sorts of things. So geology pretty much decided how they did things. Flint Ridge is a state memorial that's east of Columbus in east central Ohio. And Flint Ridge is actually a mining or a quarry site that was utilized by Native Americans throughout prehistory. And the reason they liked it is Flint Ridge is absolutely beautiful flint. Ohio Flint Ridge chert, or flint, whatever you want to call it, comes in magnificent colors, all the colors of the rainbow. It's very high quality, it's lustrous. They made much use of this flint. And if you look at all the artifacts that are in mounds, the ones in the Dena and Hopewell sites, lots and lots of Flint Ridge material is in those.
Flint is a very beautiful material. It's the state gem of Ohio. And the pioneers used that as burr stones and millstones and sharpening stones. And so it's a very useful material.
The early settlers, they needed the natural resources that geology provides, such as coal, the early iron ore. There was actually iron ore, some low-grade iron ore they could use to make nails and different things out of iron. Natural salt deposits that they could use. They could boil down and get the salt to feed to their animals and other things like that they need salt for. There was natural resources available in a lot of these places along rivers, which were natural transportation corridors, that the settlers could use in their day-to-day lives. One of the major building projects early in the state was the building of the canals. The Miami and Erie Canal, which connected Cincinnati and Toledo. The Ohio and Erie Canal connected Portsmouth with Cleveland. They used a lot of the local sandstones, at least in eastern Ohio, for the Ohio and Erie Canal. And then in western Ohio, they used limestone to build the locks. Those are very important ways for the early settlers, the early farmers, and even early manufacturers to get their goods to market.
Does anybody really use geology today? I mean, like normal people? Does it really have anything to do with our everyday lives? That would be a yes. From the places we live, to the fuel we burn, to the food we eat, good things come to us every day from Ohio's geologic resources.
The geology in Ohio does have an impact on the way people live in Ohio today. If you look at the physiographic regions of the state, which are a direct result of glaciation and geology, we see these open flat till plains in the western part of Ohio and the central part, and that's traditionally farming. It's open area. In the eastern part of the Ohio, which is unglaciated, you see mostly timber and mining industry today. It's really not that great for farming. So it does decide pretty much what people do for a living and the way that they live.
The major manufacturing regions of Ohio have been traditionally located near the resources and near the corridors of transportation. And so the rivers, the Ohio River, as a source of transportation, has helped to focus industrial pursuits. Lake Erie as well.
Waterways are very important. We can get our drinking water, we pump it out and purify it. We can transport a lot of our goods, raw materials, coal, iron ore, our grain can go by water, so water is very important.
In Ohio, the geology has given us rich mineral materials. We have salt, we produce gypsum, we produce oil and gas. And we have coal in Ohio. That's perhaps our richest mineral material here in Ohio. We've produced building stone or dimensional stone. Examples of the usage, the early usage of building stone can be seen in the lighthouse at Marblehead Point in northern Ohio. And that was constructed from local limestone. And the building stone that was quarried there was later used to build the Empire State Building. The Chillicothe Gazette building on Main Street in Chillicothe is a model of the original State House, and that was built in about 1941 using the Berea sandstone to reproduce that original building. We have great deposits of shale and clay in Ohio. And of course, shale and clay are the raw materials for making bricks and tiles and ceramics. We've had an active industry in making brick and tile in all forms and shapes and sizes in Ohio history. That's been a good industry for Ohio. Well, gravel pits and quarries in Ohio are the result of the melting glaciers. And so we now mine or quarry or excavate or produce sand and gravel. And we are one of the leaders in the United States of the production of sand and gravel. Well, windmills are used very effectively for the generation of power in northwestern Ohio. Northwestern Ohio is suitable for using wind generation with windmills because there is a good steady wind in that area, and so they have been effective in getting that source of alternative energy going.
Well, geology is with us every day. It's all around us. It's very important in our day-to-day lives. The soils that support our agriculture come from geology. The oil and gas that we use in our cars and homes come from geology. The coal that supplies our electricity for our homes comes from geology. The water that we drink, that's very important. So it touches us every day.
I don't know about you, but I love to find out about cool stuff. Ohio's geology is awesome, and there's a whole lot more yet to be discovered. So what are you waiting for? Another ice age? Get out there and start exploring. I'm Rick Sowash, and I'll say it one last time, Ohio rocks.